Okay, folks, welcome back. So I am now preparing to transfer my image to my black paper. I did a little bit of adjusting on my star. We'll see how it turns out. I'm sure it'll be all right. I did anchor my drawing to the corner and the bottom of my piece of paper. It's good to use the edge. Don't just float your image right in the middle of your piece of paper. This is a machine cut edge. It's perfectly straight, so use it, yeah? So I aligned my drawing with the bottom corner, so my axis is along the paper cut edge. And I also prepared the back side of the paper. I did half of it with just a graphite transfer method. This is just anybody's DIY graphite transfer paper, right? Where you just turn it over and you kind of look at the edges and you make sure that you have a nice coat of graphite all along the back side. I also have a piece of graphite transfer paper that I'm going to be placing face down on the bottom half. This is something I keep in my studio, something that we usually have in the classroom, but this method will also work just fine. That's why I'm going to demo both of them for you. So you should be able to see the effects of both. So I'm just going to do a quick tracing. One thing I recommend is that you work in a pen. Yeah, that way you know where you've been. You can check your line quality, and you can kind of apply more pressure than you normally would. So I'm going to start up in the top left up here. Actually, I want to make sure that the transfer method is visible. So I'm going to pull this down. Okay, that way this area up here will be transferred with just graphite on the top of the paper. The reason I like working in another medium, actually a ballpoint pen is probably better because you'll be applying more pressure, as well as the graphite sometimes doesn't get along well with the micron. The micron is like a straw, and so it will definitely soak up whatever surface it's on. So you can see that we are going to be spending a lot of time with this image. You're going to trace, you're going to retrace, and you're going to enlarge. And the reason that this project has so many stages is for all those stages of revision, right? So that you have all those opportunities to improve and revise your design as you go. So this is why I have hinges, so that we can check our work. I've gone a little ways and now I want to make sure it's working. So I'm just going to come through. And yeah, there's a real subtle line. It's maybe rough to see. I'm going to transition over to a better pen. This pen I don't think is exerting enough pressure. I want to be able to push a little harder. Here we go. Let's see if this works better. All right, so I'm going to take my time. I'm going to go around. I'm going to make sure my entire image is traced accurately before I remove that tape and remove my work at all from this black paper. You don't want to shift it around. You don't want to chase your drawing. You're going to leave it where it is. Okay, I'm going to check one more time. Yeah, it's very subtle, but it's just enough for you to be able to see, hopefully, in that light, you can see the reflection, where you will have a graphite transfer that you can follow, but it's very subtle, okay? Onto the black paper. I'm going to keep going so that I have a full transfer here, and that way I can show you in a little more detail. Okay? You're going to want to go along. These lines here, the thinner the lines, those are the lines you want to avoid the most. These little bits, I'm going to regret these later, but I think I really like how they look. I like how they break it up. I try to do as minimal of those as possible. These little white squares, these little bits. Anytime there's little parts that aren't connected to each other, that's going to take a long time to cut and to replace on the other side. So these thin lines, I tried to make sure they were connected to larger areas, so they aren't going to be standalone thin lines like these ones are, or say these ones later. Okay. I want to make sure that I have done my best to duplicate every shape, yeah? So that when it comes time for cutting, you have an incredibly accurate map to follow. Okay, I'll show you just a little bit more of what this might be looking like. And this is why you want to use a pen to trace with, so that you know where you've been, yeah? You know, if I go over this and trace with a pencil, I'm not going to see where I've been, yeah? Same thing if you've worked with a black Sharpie, you might want to use a blue ballpoint pen, right? Something that will stand out so that you can see your lines. Cool. Good. I have a little bit of a line transfer there that I can see. I'm going to keep going because this star is probably what I'm going to cut first as a nice little demo. Okay? All right. Now that there's a little more traced, hopefully I can show you. Oops, don't forget the arches, Erin. Wonderful. Okay. Wonderful. All right. So hopefully that is somewhat visible to you, and you can see that in my demo, that there will be a graphite line that you're going to want to try to make visible as best as possible. Very subtle, you don't want it to be bold. It'll erase later if needed, so it could get a little darker, but you want to have something that you can easily follow with your X-Acto knife, yes? Okay, let me pause this again.